The gale or storm signal number 8 in force for 13 hours with relatively few reports of damage. The British government outlines England's 3-tier coronavirus lockdown system. And Donald Trump hits the campaign trail in Florida without a mask.
Hello and a very good evening. The number 8 northeast scale or storm signal has been in force for more than 13 hours, but it will be replaced with the strong wind signal number 3 soon.
At 7 p.m., tropical storm Nanka was centered about 520 kilometers southwest of Hong Kong. It's forecast to move west or west-northwest at about 20 kilometers per hour towards Hainan Island. Depending on the conditions, the observatory will consider replacing it with a number 3 signal. Rain was heavy at times in certain parts of the city. Dong Yan begins our coverage.
One can hardly imagine this is taking place amid a tropical cyclone. As Nanka was passing by the region south of the city today, the observatory issued the number 8 gale or storm signal at 5:40 a.m. The number 8 signal remained in force for most of the day. Nanka brought gusty winds and heavy rain to Hangfa-chun in the eastern district, a harborside area hard hit by typhoons in recent years. But the force of the storm was not so evident to people in some other districts. In Tsim Sha Tsui, the scene near the Star Ferry Pier was comparatively smooth this morning.
Despite the typhoon signal being issued, people still were out to exercise or to observe the sea and take pictures.
We've got a staycation up there and nowhere else we can go, so we're just coming here to chill for a bit.
I'm a teacher, and then so no school today. I've been taking some pictures and to show my friends that it's actually not that bad. I think it's great to have a day off.
But many were bothered by the number 8 signal as it halted the city's normal operations.
Shops are forced to shut down, no one goes to work. So, we're supposed to go swimming because of the typhoon. We can't do that now.
Public services were also affected, and public transport services were either suspended or scaled back. In Kowloon City, restaurants remain open. Some even say business is better than normal days. The manager of this kanji place explains many people don't have to go to work and they have come out for food. But the storm can still be destructive. As of 2 p.m., authorities have received multiple reports of fallen trees, and at least one person has sought treatment due to typhoon-related injuries. This is the second time this year the observatory has issued the number 8 gale or storm signal after Typhoon Hegos hit the city in August. Dong Yang, TVB News.
The observatory defended its decision to issue the number 8 signal today, saying it was for people's safety.
This as many were left bewildered over relatively fine weather and the little impact Nanka appeared to have on the city. Haley Zhou has more.
An unexpected peace in the city this morning. The issuance of the number 8 signal left many scratching their heads.
I see lots of people doing some exercise right now, so I'm not sure whether the situation is really bad, although it's number 8.
At its closest, Nanka was 440 kilometers from Hong Kong. It's the farthest tropical cyclone in 60 years to trigger a number 8 signal. An expert says it's because of a phenomenon which they call superimposition.
At this time of the year, we are most of the time affected by an area of high pressure over China, and that gives us the northeast monsoon. And if at the same time, another weather system, in this case, it is a tropical storm passing through the south of Hong Kong, then this tropical storm will also give rise to a similar air current. Then these two air currents will, reinforce one another to give an even stronger force. And that is basically the reason behind the issuance of number 8 signal today.
The maximum sustained winds recorded at Wagland Island today was 78 kilometers per hour, but he says it could have been stronger.
As the northeast monsoon traverses over a long distance over the South China Sea, it will pick up moisture as well as heat content. And that actually helps to strengthen the tropical storm. And that's why we see some rather rapid intensification of the storm during the past 24 hours.
Hailey Zhou, TVB News.
The city reported 9 new coronavirus cases today, 4 of which were locally acquired. This includes 2 with an unknown source of infection.
As Kena Chu reports, authorities will be extending various virus combating measures by another week.
As the novel coronavirus appears to be here to stay, so will social distancing measures, which will remain effective until at least October 22nd. This includes a 4-people gathering ban and a mandate to wear face masks in public places. No more than 4 customers will be allowed per table at restaurants and eateries, and the quota will stay at 2 per table at bars and nightclubs. Leading microbiologist Yun Kwok-young is among the latest to support mandatory screening for all carriers of mild COVID symptoms. This, as he warned the winter season could potentially see tens of thousands more infections and up to 1,000 deaths. Today, the city also registered 8 new coronavirus infections. According to a written update from authorities, 4 out of the 8 newly reported cases were imported. As for the local cases, 2 are connected to previous patients. The source of infection for the others is unknown. This includes a 68-year-old man who developed a fever on October 5th. After consulting a doctor on the same day and again on the 8th, he sought further help from Chang Kwan-el Hospital on October 11th. A 32-year-old family member with whom he shares a flat at The Wings is also one of today's newly reported cases. The other case with an untraceable infection origin is a 48-year-old man who was last seen at his workplace at City Plaza 1 on October 9th. He's a Block A resident of Beleth Garden in Ngau Tau Kok. On October 10th, he came down with a fever and went to the Accident and Emergency Department of the United Christian Hospital the next day. A deep throat saliva sample he submitted yesterday has so far returned positive. The remaining local patient is a 33-year-old living in Chunwon. He's a close contact of the Gateway Hotel viral cluster. Kena Chu, TVB News.
The British government divided England into 3 tiers of coronavirus risk Monday. This as part of ongoing attempts to slow down a recent spike in the country's infection rate.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson is, however, believed to be reluctant to implement another full-scale national lockdown. Daniel Rowell has more on this story.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson told the House of Commons that the new 3-level national system will simplify and standardise what he called a confusing patchwork of local regulations.
This local approach has inevitably produced different sets of rules in different parts of the country that are now complex to understand and to enforce. Just as we simplified our national rules with the rule of 6, we will now simplify and standardise our local rules.
Under the new measures, areas in England are classified at medium, high or very high risk and placed under restrictions of varying severity. Areas in the lowest tier will follow existing national restrictions. These include a 10 p.m. curfew on pubs and restaurants and a ban on gatherings of more than 6 people. In high-risk areas, members of different households will be prevented from meeting indoors. The very high-risk tier will face restrictions including pub, gym and casino closures. Liverpool was the only area put into the top category on Monday. The city has one of Britain's most severe COVID outbreaks, with about 600 cases per 100,000 people. Other cities in northern England, the UK's new infection hotspot, could soon follow suit. Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak also announced an economic support package on Monday. It aims to pay 2/3 of the salaries of employees forced out of work due to the restrictions. Britain has suffered Europe's deadliest COVID outbreak, reporting an official death toll of 42,875. Critics of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government argue this could have been much lower if better policy decisions had been made at the start of the pandemic. Daniel Rowell, TVB News.
An update to our top story now. The observatory has just replaced the gale or storm signal number 8 with the strong wind signal number 3. Mainland authorities in the eastern port city of Qingdao say they have completed coronavirus tests on more than 3 million people. This follows the country's first reported local outbreak of COVID-19 in nearly 2 months. Qingdao authorities say no new positive cases have been found among the more than 1.1 million test results returned so far. Since the new outbreak was first spotted over the weekend at a hospital, the city has reported 12 cases, 6 with symptoms, 6 without. The cases all appear to be linked to a chest hospital treating imported infections, though some of the local patients had also been in contact with people in the community. At least 240 flights were canceled at Qingdao Liuting International Airport today as part of the new precautionary measures. In continental Europe, the second wave of COVID-19 continues to hit nations hard and has now permeated the Holy See. According to the Vatican, 4 Swiss guards responsible for protecting the Pope tested positive for the coronavirus. The guards all reportedly have mild symptoms. They've been placed in isolation while their contacts are being traced. Pope Francis has, however, been recently pictured without a mask. This despite the Vatican having amended its mask mandates to confirm with Italy's. Denmark, vets and farmers have been ordered to cull at least 2.5 million minks. The mandate comes after COVID cases were reported in at least 63 mink farms. All COVID-positive minks and animals from farms and ear-infection clusters must now be culled. Scientists are attempting to trace the source of the infections.
The head of the World Health Organization has warned against the idea that herd immunity might be a realistic strategy to stop the pandemic, dismissing such proposals as simply unethical.
There has been some discussion recently about the concept of reaching so-called herd immunity by letting the virus spread. Herd immunity is a concept used for vaccination, in which a population can be protected from a certain virus if a threshold of vaccination is reached. For example, herd immunity against measles requires about 95% of a population to be vaccinated. In other words, herd immunity is achieved by protecting people from a virus, not by exposing them to it.
And still ahead on tonight's news, in Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim meets the king in a push to become prime minister. And EU foreign ministers agree on sanctions against Russia over the poisoning of a Putin critic.
The White House has finally given written evidence that U.S. President Donald Trump has tested negative for COVID-19 in a memo from his doctor.
This comes as Trump held his first rally since he contracted the disease, desperately trying to drum up support with the presidential election just weeks away. Meanwhile, America's top infectious disease expert vows to stay on in his role no matter who the president is. Leslie Tang has more.
Just a week after his release from hospital after contracting COVID-19, it appears little has changed in U.S. President Donald Trump's mind. He left the White House still not wearing a mask. White House physician Sean Conley finally gave evidence Trump is virus-free, releasing a memo that he tested negative on consecutive days and is no longer at risk of spreading the infection. With just over 3 weeks until Election Day, Trump threw caution to the wind by holding a mega rally in the key state of Florida. It's the first of 6 rallies planned for this week. He tossed out masks to thousands of supporters standing shoulder to shoulder.
I went through it. Now they say I'm immune. I feel so powerful. I'll walk into that audience. I'll walk in there. I'll kiss everyone in that audience. I'll kiss the guys and the beautiful women and everybody. I'll just give you a big fat kiss.
His rival Joe Biden, meanwhile, has been drumming up support in Ohio, a state that was thought to be out of reach for Democrats until now. He slammed Trump's downplaying of the pandemic, which has killed over 200,000 Americans.
Americans don't panic. Trump panicked. Trump is the one who panicked. His reckless personal conduct since his diagnosis as well has been unconscionable. And the longer Donald Trump is president, the more reckless he gets.
Malaysia's opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim has presented the nation's king with evidence backing his bid to form a new government. Anwar claims to have the support of 120 lawmakers if the argument is successful. Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin would be unseated.
With these documents, it is abundantly clear that we have registered a formidable, convincing majority in Parliament, or among parliamentarians. Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has lost his majority and therefore would be appropriate for him to resign.
Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin only took power in March, this after securing sufficient parliamentary support to unseat Anwar's reformist alliance. Anwar's Alliance of Hope was elected in 2018, but collapsed after Muhyiddin sided with opposition factions. Then Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad resigned in protest, saying he wouldn't work with parties accused of corruption. Muhyiddin currently boasts a slim majority and has been grappling to maintain support. Critics of Anwar have, however, accused him of attempting to capitalize on pandemic-induced uncertainty.
European Union foreign ministers agreed Monday to impose sanctions on Russian officials and organizations they blame for the poisoning of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said the countries agreed to freeze the assets of those suspected of involvement and ban them from traveling in Europe under sanctions to combat the use and spread of chemical weapons. Navalny, a major critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, fell ill on August 20th during a domestic flight in Russia. He was flown to Germany for treatment 2 days later. Lab tests confirmed Navalny was the victim of the nerve agent Novichok. And that's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Bye for now.